You've probably heard the words research paper being thrown around in the context of college admissions. If the word research brings to mind someone in a white coat holding a pipette or an Erlenmeyer flask, this can be pretty daunting, especially while you're still in high school. But don't worry, we've done our research and we're here to dispel the rumors. Welcome back to your friendly neighborhood college counselor, here to simplify college admissions for you. Before we jump into things, make sure to hit subscribe to catch all our latest videos on applications and profile building strategies. We have talked at length about the types of extracurriculars high school students do, how they explore their passions inside and outside the classroom, from sports to music to service. But what if your interests outside of school are more academic in nature? What if you've long been fascinated by the potential that carbon sequestration holds to limit the effects of climate change? What if you're interested in the history of civil disobedience or the ability of exams to measure actual comprehension? Whatever the case may be, there are some topics of interest that don't fit neatly into any extracurricular club or activity. If you find yourself longing to pursue an interest such as this, you might consider conducting your own research project. While this concept may seem intimidating at first, if you break it down into smaller, manageable tasks, you'll quickly find that you probably already have the skills necessary to get started. This is why I've invited Dr. Mrityunjay Sharma, a PhD in chemistry from the University of Manchester and the lead of our research team here at Athena. Welcome, Dr. MJ. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
So I am Mrityunjay. I did my PhD from University of Manchester. I worked for a company called Sellafield Limited. They do nuclear decommissioning. So I was making paints that can detect alpha particle that gets out from nuclear radiation. So I did that, but after that, for past 6-7 years, I've been working in education sector, and the fact is that what I'm doing right now and what I'm passionate about is I'm trying to make research mainstream for a lot of high schoolers who are interested in research, or who just want to figure out that what are the questions that motivate them, or what are the questions that they're curious about. So I'm just trying to do that, and I'm really enjoying that process. And I think some of our students also enjoy this overall process because it is really enriching and fun. And I know that adding fun with research is not it's not normal, but that's what we try to do. We try to add fun with research. But so that's what that's who I am. That's what I do.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. So you mentioned that research can be fun and interesting and enriching, right? And we have a lot of high school students watching. Why should a high schooler consider conducting a research project of their own? What are the benefits to that?
Okay, so I think first of all, it's important to talk about what is research, right? And I think we should never think that, okay, if you are standing in a lab with a conical flask doing titration, getting a phenolphthalein color, that's research. That's not the only thing that's research. Now, the fact that you go on Amazon, you want to buy a shirt, which colored shirt, what size, which company, that's all research as well. I want to buy this, I want to buy that. That's our hypothesis, and you are solving it by going through the whole process, right? So research is as simple as that.
So you're telling me that every time I do my online shopping, I'm actually a research scientist.
You are a research scientist.
You're speaking my language, Dr. MJ. Really?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, now the question about why high school students should do research, or can they do research in high school? So the thing is that what we always teach our students is that it's not about finding a cure for cancer. It's always about finding the one niche that you are interested in, that you're curious about, right? And then you answer that. That's it. We help you formulate, give you the whole process, give you all the frameworks, give you the whole funnel as to what are the steps to do research. But yes, you can do a research if you're a high school student, but don't try to solve cure for cancer or superconductivity. You don't have to do that. Just try to find one thing that you are interested in. I can give an example actually. So one of our students last year, avid football player, interested in Barcelona, wanted to apply for economics. We suggested him that he should do a research paper around football only, right?
Okay.
And then what he did was he figured out that, okay, there are a lot of football transfers happening across the year, right? So what should I do? Is there an impact of one player moving from one country to another? And then we were like, okay, can you add details to this? And then he was like, okay, if the impact, is on forwards, on defenders, on midfielders, on goalkeepers, and then do the value increase? Does it decrease? What is the percentage of people who are actually doing good, right? So he was passionate about that. He wanted to study economics, so a lot of statistics was also there. And yeah, it was a fun process for him as well. And again, he didn't try to, do something fancy. He did something that he liked. Even if you talk about college applications, that's what matters. What matters is that does it flow perfectly into what you want to do, right? Are you curious about it? Are you motivated about it? Rather than, I have done something this big. Yes, you have not. You've just done some shadowing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing a couple of important points that you shared. Number one, I think it's so interesting, and we want to dispel the myth that to conduct research, you necessarily have to be interested in the sciences or STEM. And in fact, every academic discipline has serious research being conducted, whether that's in the field of economics, history, politics, English, right? You can ask questions about the world around you, no matter what field you're interested in, and demonstrate that love of knowledge for knowledge's sake. And from the perspective of college admissions, obviously being the friendly neighborhood college counselor, I'm also thinking about how this positions a student as different from the rest of the applicants. And I think that the ability to conduct one's own research project not only showcases the values that highly prestigious universities are looking for, like intellectual curiosity and vitality, but also the preparedness for college level rigor and the research that they will invariably go on to do in college. So the ability to display these skills, as well as to follow through on a relatively hefty project, right? To start from the beginning and see it all the way through till publication and even presentation at a conference shows a lot of maturity, I would say. That's something that is going to help you through the college admissions process, although that should not be, of course, your primary motivation and your sole reason to conduct research, but it's certainly a bonus. And how would you recommend a student maybe who's watching to start? Where do I identify my research question and that gap? How do I know that it hasn't already been answered?
That's a very interesting question as to where should I start, right? Again, as I said, start with yourself, right? And I'll give you an example, because you also talked about that. Can humanities student, can social science student, can they also, indulge in any kind of research? I think they can, and they should definitely do, because a lot of our world is run by politics and social science and economics. And I can give a very interesting example, right? So I think there is something happening in Argentina in terms of changing of governments. So the valuation of the Argentinian pesos has gone to 800 for $1, right?
Wow.
Now all the Argentinians who are living in the US, it is getting difficult for them, especially students who have gone to US to study, right? Now if you are interested in the politics and economics together, you can work around, how does it affect and what is the impact of dollar on all these events, right? So that's one. Again, as I said, you have to look around you, right? So we are in India right now, right? And India hosted G20, but India also is a part of a bloc called BRICS, right? Now, if you are a student interested in international relations, what you can do is you can look for, what is BRICS about? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, right? How are these 4 or 5 countries important? If you add the GDP of all 4 or 5 countries, it actually is a very big percentage. If you add the young people who can work of all these 4 or 5 countries, it's a very big number. So that's just economics. But let's say you're interested in geopolitics. Now BRICS, what they're doing is they're also adding more countries, right? And now we can actually talk about BRICS is present in Africa, BRICS is present in Asia. They hold the most important trade routes and all the new members. They hold some of the biggest oil producing countries. You can, do some research around that. Like a fun fact, we were talking about moon landing very recently. On the moon, there are 3 BRICS countries that are present: China, India, and Russia. Only US is the non-BRIC country, right? So the impact of BRIC country on the new world order is something that you can think about, you can research about and write a paper about, right? And you can find multiple ways to write about it, obviously. So you just have to look around and you'll find something for sure.
Wow, very interesting. My biggest takeaway from everything you've shared is that all of the work of research starts within, right? To turn inwards and to really ask yourself those deep questions about what enlightens that kind of fire under you to learn. What is the topic that you can fall down a rabbit hole researching Wikipedia pages till 3 a.m. about that topic, and the thing that you can talk for hours and hours on end about until your friends kind of go blue in the face, and follow that, right? Like go where interest and curiosity is organically flowing, as opposed to kind of forcing yourself into something you think you should be researching for the purposes of college admissions, or, you know, something that your parents or your teachers have told you that you should do, right? Very interesting. So for the purposes of our students who are all over the world, right, who may not be situated near a tech lab or near a chemistry lab, or who may not have access to high-level facilities, can they still conduct research? And if so, how do they go about the process of gathering data, verifying its source credibility, and then after that, analyzing it, right? What are some tools available to students, no matter where they're situated in the world, for them to derive some novel insights out of their research?
I'll answer this in a way that, why are we doing research? Number one, I am curious about certain things and I want to know an answer for this particular thing, so I'm doing research, right? Second, there's a possibility that I will talk about my research in my application, right? Now, what these admission officers or what these colleges are looking for, they're looking for people who are interested in the world, right? Who are interested in the future of different disciplines that are around us, right? So if you don't have a tech lab or a research lab with you, it's fine, not a problem at all, right? What you can do is, you can go online, you can go to Google Scholar, you can have a hypothesis. Again, there is a possibility that you may not know what kind of hypothesis I want to work on. You can go to websites like Scientific American, right? You can go to American Scientist, you can go to Freethink, right? You can look at what is it that's happening in the world right now, let's say in terms of healthcare, right? So cancer is a buzzword in healthcare and a lot of people are looking at cancer from different points of view, right? So what you can do is you can look at, okay, in cancer, I want to see the impact of neutrophils. And if you're a biology student, you will understand what neutrophils are, right? So the impact of neutrophils on cancer, right? Type it on Google Scholar, look around, see what are the most recent trends, what are the most recent research papers, read them, write about them, and then write your own synthesis about it as well. That, okay, this is what I've learned from this, and this is where this whole field is going to, right? And this is what my expectations from the whole field is. You can do that as well, right? And it is as good as you going to a lab and, you know, working. If you don't have a lab, I mean, it's not your fault, right? So if you don't have a lab, just do this, right? Because writing such paper is also a rigorous task. You know, it requires a lot of rigor, a lot of hard work, a lot of analysis of different papers. So it's not like that if you don't have a lab, you can't do anything. You can. At the end of the day, it's about your curiosity. It's about your interest, what you want to do. If you are doing the things for right reasons, you will not require any infrastructure or anything. You'll do it.
And the internet is a unlimited, powerful resource for students. And I think when exploring what's already out there, you can also think about your own context and your own community, and maybe, you know, bringing your own cultural background to the study of the particular subject, right? And bringing out that hook as well. Can put your own spin on maybe research that's already been done, but not in this particular way or not in this particular niche and area. I also liked what you mentioned about where is the field going, right? Like the future of whatever subject you're interested. I think there's a role for revering and recognizing the past and the history of one's field and appreciating the work that has been done by the greats, figures in science or social science research, but then also have that very future-facing mindset of, okay, you know, what direction does it look like appear to be going in, right? Like, is biotechnology really moving in this direction? And how can I, as a young scholar, be a part of driving this field forward, right? And adding new innovation and novel ideas that can really change the world in ways it hasn't already.
And if you look at it from a college's point of view, right, what they're looking for, they're looking for people who are thinking ahead, who are thinking for next 10, 20, 30 years.
People who are going to make them look good.
I mean, people who are going to make them look good, right? They will also proudly say that, okay, this particular drug is being discovered at Harvard or Stanford or Cambridge, wherever, right? So they're looking for people who are interested in a field, who are looking for next 10, 20 years of that field.
Absolutely.
They're not looking for people, oh, I went to the lab and did you do anything? Did you learn anything? No, I just went to the lab. No, you got to, you know, put a lot of hours in terms of understanding and reading whatever you're interested in.
All right, so now that a student has perhaps identified a topic, crafted their hypothesis, gathered their data, maybe analyzed their data, and the student has now reached the point where they have to sit down and write the entire paper. What are some major pitfalls or mistakes that you've seen students make time and time again while writing that paper, and how to avoid them?
So one really important thing that we never, you know, think about while writing a research paper is that you're also learning a lot of ethics while writing a paper, right? So important. Ethics and objectivity. So never plagiarize, right? So if there is a person who's done some research for last 7 years, if you're taking their idea, you acknowledge that idea. So that's number one. That's really important. Never plagiarize ethically. And also, you know, one day you will be a researcher as well, and you don't want someone to quote your idea and say, oh, this is my idea, right? Don't do that. Second, this word research, it has this sound of, oh, I don't know what I'm going to write, right? So we know films, right? We see a film, right? So in a film, what's happening is that you see a character. So first the character is introduced, then an obstacle for the character is introduced,
conflict,
and then that character resolves that obstacle, and then the character wins and looks forward to the world, right?
Hero's journey,
right? Your research paper is also that. Write it like a story, okay? Don't think about oh, I'll do this, I'll add fancy words. Don't do that. Write it like a story, because someone is going to read it, and they will not read it if it is boring, if there is no story, if there is no structure to it. Structure it like a, you know, story,
engaging narrative arc.
Absolutely. Right? Don't just talk about random things from here and there. You know, in the process of, oh, I found these 20 papers in this order, I'm going to write about this in this order. Don't do that. Write about it in the form of a story, right? And if you do that, then it becomes engaging. It becomes, you know, readable. Right? People don't get bored by reading your work. So I think that's an important thing that anyone should do while writing a research paper. And again, while writing, don't think about, oh, I'm going to write a 20-page research paper. Oh, I'm going to write about a 10,000 word research paper. It's not about 20 pages or 40 pages or 100 pages. It's not about that. It's about putting a point across. Can you objectively put a point across? Can you tell a story objectively in a logical order? If you can do that, then, you know, that's fine. If you can write a paper in 5 pages and talk about whatever you want to talk about, fair enough. I'm okay with that. It should not be show off. It should just be, I had this question. This is what I have found in my literature review. This is the way I'm going to talk about it to the people. Because you're not writing it for yourself only, no? You're also writing it for your reader. So make sure that they are able to read it, understand it properly.
Absolutely. I think the power of science communication really lies in one's ability to take highly complex concepts and make them accessible and palatable to the lay public. Otherwise, what is the point of research if it really just stays up here in the academic community and never percolates down to people like you and I, right? So we can learn more about our world and make more informed decisions based on that. Scholarly research has such a reputation of being difficult to read anyway and being dry. So, you know, students can break out of that, and science
at least,
research can be super exciting to read.
At least if you're a high school student, you can attempt that now,
Totally.
right? Yes, when you will be like 10 years into your research work, there's a possibility that you have to write a paper which only the people of your field understand. But right now, you're not at that level. So just try and write it in a way that people can actually read it.
Yeah, and that might make sense to you as a reader, right?
Absolutely.
Kind of put yourself in your audience's shoes and empathize with them. Awesome. Okay, as we wind down for this episode today, I want to ask you two last quick final questions. Starting with, we've talked so much about research, how research is incredibly enriching and a wonderful process of self-discovery and of self-development. What kind of student is right to do a research paper? Or rather, are there scenarios in which maybe doing a research project isn't right for a student?
Again, I'll just reiterate my point. If you are interested in something, if you want to answer a question, do it. This is from the point of view of there is no college admission around, right? But if you are talking about strategically from a college admissions point of view, then you have to understand that write it if you have a lot of time. Write it if it flows well
with
into your profile, right? Don't write it for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Right? Don't write it
to check a box.
Yeah, don't write it because someone else wrote it and went to UPenn, right?
Got it.
Don't do that. Write it because it will make sense when you talk about your story.
Exactly.
Right? If you are, let's say, a national level cricket player, if you're playing for an IPL team, even if you're playing for India under 16, under 19 team, don't write a research paper. You don't
focus on
focus on the longevity of that one activity.
Totally.
Don't worry about research.
And it's important to remember the role that a research project plays in an overall profile from a college admissions standpoint, right? The research project is like an academic co-curricular in a sense. It's an extension of your academic score. And we've talked about how colleges score your application and evaluate you as an applicant. And a research project would actually bolster your academic credentials more than, say, your extracurriculars. So if you feel that you need to strengthen your academic profile, right? If you feel that, your grades are good, but maybe you don't have so many APs or you don't have the best SAT score, this can really pad that side of things and demonstrate that I'm a serious student, I'm a serious intellectual.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Okay, what I want to know from our special guest, someone who's dedicated so much of his life to academic scholarly research, what is your favorite part of research?
Exploration. I think that's my favorite part of research because, that's how civilization's being built, right? That's how I'm sure that the first person, right, who was able to explore signals to tell their fellow humans or whatever that there is danger here, right? That exploration led to so many things, to civilization. So, and research actually gives you that space to explore without any boundaries. So exploration. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. That's all for today's episode of Your Friendly Neighborhood College Counselor. Please be sure to subscribe, like, share this video with a friend, and comment down below what is one thing you wonder about the world around you. As always, we'll sign off with a tip from our guest. Over to you, MJ.
It's a process, right? It's your own journey. Don't compare it with someone else. There is a possibility that you might end up in an Ivy League college or in a top 10, 20 college or not. But don't worry about anything. Just make sure that you enjoy the process, make sure that you are healthy, happy, and you are doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the sake of curiosity. You're doing it for the sake of you being a better person every single day. Good luck to everyone and my best wishes.